Good morning. Guten Tag, Talafalava. This is Dr. Snowbound speaking to you all, especially to my Snowcan Club congregation. SEC1, SEC2, Nights and Tuesdays 150 Days War Program that's operating in the private Warlock mode at the moment on Facebook. As you would have all noticed, just a posting that I posted last night. That's correct. Regarding of course, it's 30 years full sovereignty rulership of His Royal Highness the Crown King, of Norway. That's great. And of course, being royalty, of course, royalty is quite a privilege, but it's a very important status. It's a very important status. Very important to be not only respected as a royal, but to be recognized as such and accepted as such. And also to be given the treatment that part of being a royal family or a royal monarch. But already, I think that the royal family of Norway are learning, and other royal families around the globe, not just here in New Zealand, are learning that the brown monarch seems to be, totally opposite. It's a different type of meek monarch. That's correct. One where I am getting given the treatment of a commoner instead of royals, because after all, I was born a royal. That's correct. And yet the treatment I'm getting here from New Zealand, hey, if this is a private monarch, that's right, brown monarch, then I ought to be given my privileges as such. But of course, if you're going to deny my privileges like what you just did, with your arbitrary dictatorship that's still going on, but now still from the same organization, Winz of Upper Hutt office, of all I know. And yet they've been listening to my preachings. There's no doubt that they would have listened to my videos and heard me preaching the hell out of them about the issue of arbitrary dictatorship that needs to stop. That's correct. Which comes from the MMP or KKK. Those kind of harmful protocols or harmful, dictatings that I really don't need. It's not part of my so-called makeup. It's not part of the brown monarch. But you guys are trying to what? You're trying to make it as part of my monarch, my private monarch, or my so-called kingdom. But you know that in most kingdoms, you don't have such protocols, such arbitrary dictatorships. They don't even exist. They don't even exist. Because Satan doesn't exist in any kingdoms. That's correct. But in the brown monarch kingdom, well, it's a different story. It's a bloody different story. And possibly it's because of these pest rat bags that are inside this address. That's correct. Possibly, but even so, I still shouldn't be dealt to that way like that. But certainly not from the likes of Jeremiah. Come on now, Jeremiah, that's correct. You might be a case manager. You might be a staff in the Winz of Upper Hutt. But I didn't need that. I mean, I don't know you. I'm not even related to you. But, you're Samoan. You're Samoan. That's correct. Except you're full Samoan. And I really don't care if you might be half caste. I actually think you're full Samoan. But for you to behave recklessly like that, like a criminal or a punk, because that's all I can say, that's what you did. You did deliberately. Remember, generally, this is how it is. When appointments are put down or scheduled for clients of Winz, that's correct. Those appointments could be set, say, in a month's advance or weeks advance. That's correct. So, the expectation is that when they set down the time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like yesterday, it was supposed to be my appointment. 2 o'clock, that's correct. On the 30th. So I turn up there on time, that's correct. So I expect to be seen by the case manager at precisely 2 o'clock. Not 2:42, Not 42 minutes later when you feel like it. That's correct. When it pleases your pain in the ass, Royal Highness, that's great. You know what I mean, Jeremiah? And it looks like you guys, it wasn't just him, they actually conspired to set you up when you turned up for your appointment. You see, Winz of Upper Hutt, this particular organization, that's correct, especially the local one, they seem to know a lot. They seem to know a lot about what I say and what goes on inside this address. That's correct. They seem to know quite a lot. Whether it be psychologically or spiritually. A lot of eavesdropping. But of course, they would have known a lot, from my private church TV, my videos, postings. So the expectation is, I guess, they wanted to teach you a lesson. I guess they wanted to teach you a lesson on their so-called punk level, like a criminal level. I don't expect that from any staff that is qualified. Let's hope you got the job the right way to work for Winz. Because sometimes some of your staff, well, they didn't actually get the job the right way. That's correct. You got given the job or offered the job through word of mouth, or it's who you know. That's correct. So in other words, you didn't earn the job the way that you should have earned it. Otherwise, you wouldn't behave like a punk, let alone apply these sort of criminal, harmful protocols. That's correct. They're so unprofessional, unethical, and unlawful, but also very criminal. Come on now, Winz. I'm starting to wonder who runs your organization. I mean, Sepulona is the Minister of Social Development. Well, I know she's got, degree, she's qualified. But I mean, the way that you guys run your organization, it feels like, this is how it is. It sounds like SIFs. It sounds like SIFs. Now you hear all these nightmares, that's great. Sad stories about, how SIFs is dealing with children. That's correct. And then you hear Winz, that's correct, of Upper Hutt. And I'm starting to wonder that maybe you guys are actually run by criminals. And when I mean by criminals and not qualified professionals, as you should be, because you're applying harmful protocols from presidents of criminal organizations or outlaw organizations like MMB, like the local one, Red Demon, as well as the white one. Will you explain to me what is really fucking going on inside your office, your organization? Why are you doing that? I didn't need to be set up. Hey, I came peacefully inside your facility, your organization. I haven't been, to Winz for ages. That's like, to be honest, like in 2021, that's probably the only appointment. I've had. Face-to-face appointment I've had with Winz, that's correct, that I can remember of by memory. So for me to walk in there, I'm happy. I'm looking forward to my appointment. I'm expecting that, hey, I'm going to be treated with dignity and respect. But also, I'm going to be looked after and not harmed and not put in a situation where I'm going to feel unsafe and uncomfortable, but also very, very annoyed and angry. That's correct. And I'm sorry, Jeremiah, but you're guilty. You're guilty, buddy. You're guilty. Now, you might be New Zealand born. Now, I'm not New Zealand born. But you see, I'm a Pākehā. I'm a Pākehā. That's correct. But you see, I get this impression with you, Jeremiah, that you seem to get up to no good. You seem to get up to mischief. Yeah, there have been other, dealings with you where it hasn't ended, on a high note for me. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, buddy. They should lock you up. They should lock you up. For what you deal, it's so dodgy and shady. What you're doing is just it's so unprofessional and unethical, but really harmful for clients who might have little patience or mental illness. But hey, I haven't got a mental illness. The only mental illness I have is common sense and sanity and a lot of brains. That's about the only sickness, mental illness that's with me, is that I just seem to know too much. And I just seem to be too bright. Too bright for a lot of, commoners and possibly, too noble for a lot of you. And especially for the likes of Jeremiah. I know. Would you believe that? You made me bloody wait for 42 minutes, buddy. And you did it deliberately. The cameras don't lie. The cameras don't lie. The cameras everywhere inside Winz. I think what you guys did was that you'd actually wanted you deliberately aggravated. That's right. You deliberately set me up. You made me wait there in the reception so that you could raise my blood pressure. Make me really angry. Angry on the inside. Make me feel, hostile. Well, I didn't show my attitude inside, Winz, because I didn't see the point. I'm 49 years old, and the last thing I need is to stress out, and I don't suffer from any anxiety attacks. Thanks a lot. Good try. Thanks a lot, but nice try. Didn't work, did it? No, it didn't. Because you know what? I knew better, and I'm a lot wiser than that. And I knew what you were trying to do. I mean, oh my God. You know what? This is old school. It's just old school. But really, nasty. Nasty indeed. The fact that you were expecting what? Were you expecting me to lose my cool? To say the word, you son of a bitches? Were you expecting me, that I was going to start screaming and yelling like I do on my videos? When, hey, this is my preaching style. What I do on my church TV, that's my business. That ain't your business. How I conduct my affairs in my own Crystal Kingdom Church TV, my own private company, hey, that's my business. But if you're going to set me up like this, like what you just did, which is the most horrible thing that any case manager could ever do, that's right, to a noble. Let alone to somebody who's innocent, who might be vulnerable. Hey, they're coming in peacefully. I don't expect you to give me rubbish like that, Jeremiah. I don't know you. That's correct. But I don't hate you either. And I got nothing against you either. But if you're going to take your bad attitude like that, you're going to show me, that's great. If you're going to harm and hurt me like that, psychologically, that's great. Because I don't think you realize how serious what you just did, because you deserve to be arrested. Because it amounted to torture and cruelty. Making somebody wait there when you know very well that, hey, the appointment was supposed to be at 2 o'clock. That's correct. So there was nothing, holding you back to, hey, from having the appointment there and then. Done and dusted. All you did was you completely ignored me that I was sitting there in the reception area. And you just carried on as if I didn't even exist. But it looks like you were all hoping, hey, well, there she is. Let's just teach her a lesson for what she says on your church TV. But I mean, my God, you guys are so fucking stupid. And so fucking dumb to do that. That's correct. I'm not some idiot that I would preach like that, let alone put my life at risk. And expect that my local, people who are professional or supposed to be officials working for Winz, to take things out of context, but to actually, decide to teach me a lesson? Who the fuck do you think you are, Jeremiah? That's correct. You ain't above me, and you ain't my husband, and you ain't my so-called. That's correct. Excuse me. You got a bad attitude. If you got a problem with what I say in private, that's my business. But don't take it out. Don't take it out on this pastor. Your daddy, that's right, this came from your own mouth, that's right, is what? Is a member of the clergy. It's a clergyman. How would you feel if some other asshole, some other pain in the ass, racist bastard of the case manager in Winz made your daddy wait in the reception area for bloody fucking 42 minutes when he didn't need to. That's great. How do you suppose you would feel if your daddy was dealt to that way? By some arrogant prick or some arrogant bastard, that's right, who didn't give a fuck about who he was or what he does in the community or whether he, he's a good citizen or that he's even a shepherd. That's great. You know what I'm talking about, Jeremiah? What goes around comes around. That's great. Now, let me tell you this. Because it came from your mouth. That's right. You got a brother? Who's the what? Well, who apparently created the Gang of the Cribs. And I really don't give a fuck. That's great. You might have... now we know. You got that kind of connection. And I don't. See the difference? You are nothing more than just a ratbag and a punk. Thinking that you are so good. That's right. Buddy, you should be arrested. You deserve to be chucked in jailbird for what you just did. You're rude and you're arrogant. Gosh, I'd hate to think what you really would be like if you were married. I can see now what you would do to your dear wife. That's great. Or the love of your life. You would teach her a lesson. You would torture the fuck out of her. That's great, buddy. Now, here's... you know what I'm doing? That's great. You deserve what you are getting. Because I never had anything, wrong with you. Hey, even if I say things privately, I say bad things about anybody. I can say what I like, and you know that you can say what you like to when you get home. That's right. Because that's your space. That's your personal space. But if you think you're going to invade my personal space here at this address by knowing about my private business, what I say, and then, of course, you're going to take it out of context, and you're going to retaliate, man, that is so freaking childish, but so stupid. Because that will end you up. They'll have you thrown in jailbird. That's right. Which is exactly what you deserve, buddy. So what are you going to say if you have to come to court to explain yourself with your manager as well that was there present on the day? Because as far as I'm concerned, hey, every other Dick and Harry that came inside are all witnesses. And actually saw that, hey, she didn't do anything. She just sat there and waited for her appointment. But look at how they treated them. That's great. Oh, you can see it was almost like they were treated like, what do you call it? Respite care? Not the kind of like rest home. It's like being in the hospital. Oh, over here. That's correct. It was so nice. Oh, over there. I hope you don't mind. That's correct. Waiting over there and there, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you can go up now. You can go up now. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting for my appointment. How rude, how rude. Man, you guys are the losers, all right? Now, you know why New Zealand is excluded? Or why the people that are excluded from my church TV deserve to be excluded? Because you guys don't align with a noble. You don't think like one. You don't know how to treat me like one. You don't know how to even understand me. That's correct. But if you're going to be that spiteful and continue on with your arbitrary dictatorships, I don't give a fuck about what you think or what I say on my church TV. I'm a natural pastor, but don't steal my ideas. That's great. And trying to take ownership, because you ain't never gonna be Dr. Snowbound. There's only one. And you ain't never gonna be a natural pastor either, because that ain't happening at all. Well, I mean, you seem to sabotage your opportunities. That's correct. Deliberately. I never told you to do what you did. That's correct. Thankfully, I didn't lose my cool there. I said to myself, you know what? I'm 49 years old. I don't need somebody to give me rubbish, but I don't need this kind of stress or this kind of burden. So what I'm going to do is I need to just get this appointment done. That's correct. I think it didn't even last 15 minutes, not even 10 minutes. That's correct. And it was done and dusted. But I left feeling very angry on the inside. That's correct. So I thought I better just go and check my blood pressure. And Lord and behold, well, I was right. 184 of 127, eh? And even if I took my blood pressure tablets, hey, and you still rose, my blood pressure would still rise. That's correct. Because of what happened, because that's what happens to people who have high blood pressure. That if they are put in a situation where somebody's going to make you angry on the inside, your blood pressure will rise very high, even if you're on blood pressure. I know that. But you see, I never thought that my blood pressure would rise that high, would go that high. Never. So that told me how potentially, how bad that appointment was, being made to wait there for 42 minutes. Can you imagine if it was over 1 hour? My blood pressure would probably have gone to 200. That's correct. Or 190. And then I could have had a heart attack because, blood pressure. Next thing you know, I'm unconscious and fainting there. That's correct. I have to call the ambulance. And all because some dumb fuck or some, stupid case manager taking things personally. And I don't even know you that well. And I don't even know that you would actually do that. Did you got that mentality where you want to harm somebody, Jeremiah? You shouldn't be working for Winz. In fact, that's what I will be endorsing, to have you arrested on the restraining order. And whoever put you up the idea to do what you did, that's correct. And that's not the only time that Winz has done that. Winz, I am so sad, but I'm really disappointed that I'm a New Zealand citizen. I've been here 39 years. And you still show those kind of racist, arrogant, bullshit, prejudice, behaviors that people like us don't need. I don't need it. I'm not black in my skin color. Can you not see that? If you're jealous of me, hey, don't take it out on my part Samoan indigenous, but don't you dare take it out on my royal blood either, my royalty, my royal heritage. That's good, because that's my right to be who I am, and I can damn well say what I want. That's correct. But if you're ever gonna fuck with me that way on that level, Jeremiah, I'm sorry, but I will give you the death penalty, buddy, and I wouldn't even think twice. You better fucking pull up your fucking socks, screw that head of yours in the right place, because I don't give a fuck who you are. That's correct. You better drop that attitude. Punk attitude or ratbag attitude, because it shows that your family have got a real bad attitude. And I'd hate to think there must be a lot of history of domestic violence in your family anyway. Probably very dysfunctional as well. A lot of domestic violence? I wouldn't be surprised, Jeremiah. But I wouldn't want to deal with you ever again after that. Yeah, and let's hope, because you guys are really, really bad. Your organization is bad. Stuart Mum, he's coming to court too. He's going to have to explain, but no, Winz going to have to pay a huge, massive fine. Yeah, massive fine. Because you know what? I could place you all under arrest for conspiring as a group. That's correct. Whoever was involved in this little stupid stunt that you just pulled. Hey, I'm not some dumb brown nigger. I'm not some dumb brown coconut. That's correct. I've been here bloody 39 years. You can understand now why I preach in the manner that I do. That's correct. And that's only because, that's what the guardian angel is picking up. The attitude of people in this country is so fucking disgusting, but just really downgrading. That's correct. And very disappointing. Yeah. Now you understand why. I never trusted Winz. I've never trusted you guys. I'm not surprised at all that you would actually teach me a lesson. You got the nerve. I'm 49 years old. Hey, you should teach your daddy, who's a clergyman, a fucking good lesson. That's correct. Maybe he's already taught you too many lessons, Jeremiah. And of course, this is just one of those things that where it rubs off your daddies. That's right. Violent attitude, violent behavior rubs off you, and then you go to work. That's correct. And you decide to, rub it off of me, this client. And yet I hardly deal with you. Now you've got the nerve to show that kind of bad attitude, buddy. That's right. What have I actually done to you? Hey, I might say things here at this private address of mine because that's my right. I can say what I like. But if you ever gonna take it out on, on somebody like me, you're going to get it back. Oh dear, that's right. And you know what I'm saying? These are not threats. Don't get me wrong. These are not threats. This is what we call preaching as a natural noble bastard. Welcome to my world. It's a shame that you guys are not German and possibly not Scottish either, Jeremiah. That's the difference. I got a lot of brains. You know what? I would never do that. Not to any vulnerable clients of Winz, for goodness sake. Because I know that the moment I apply those loser kind of attitude, but I want to teach a client a lesson, man, you're nothing more than just a criminal but a punk who should be in jailbird instead of working as a case manager for Winz. That's correct. You ain't doing your job like you are supposed to do so. You're now more like a prison officer, a prison correctional officer, or that's right, a probation officer. That's how you're behaving, or a security guard. You're not doing your job as a case manager like you ought to. In fact, I can do your job better than you will ever do. That's correct, buddy. If I got 2 degrees, you probably got none. That's great, but you've got experience. But I've got far more experience than you, Jeremiah. That's correct. And I'm sorry, you're a real letdown. Very disappointing. That's correct. I never expected that from a New Zealand-born Samoan. That's correct. That you would be that harmful, but reckless, fucking reckless, punk. Man, I know. I wouldn't want to be proud of you working for Winz because you're nothing more than just a punk. That's correct. You should be working for prison, like a prison officer. That would align with that kind of attitude that you got. Yeah, sure. You probably get paid more, except you do a better job then there in disciplining people and managing their so-called sentences than you would in Winz. You see, Winz, case managers, you're not paid to do any sort of, what the police does in enforcing the law. That's correct. And the probation officer, what the Minister of Justice does, managing people's sentences. Hey, that's not your job. Can you drop that kind of attitude? Your job is not to be a police officer. Your job is to what? That's correct. Manage our benefits. But manage it in such a way that you're not torturing us, teaching us lessons, my God. Especially we're educated. We've got enough brains to know better as well that, hey, all these people that came in Winz during the time I was waiting for my appointment, they look like what? They look like criminals. They look like hardcore criminals. That's correct. Ratbags. But I don't need to say that. But what I'm saying is, they got treated better than the royal, the noble. That's correct. And that is a real insult. That's a real insult. Never mind what I say on my church TV. Because after all, I'm a royal. I'm a noble. I'm allowed to have these privileges. And if you guys are jealous and you can't handle what I say, that's too bad. You ain't me. You're not unique, but you're not that special. But you see, you're not that privileged. Like I am. So how are you going to deal with this situation where you're going to have to come to court to explain yourself to the judge about why you did what you did? And the cameras don't lie. You guys actually wanted to set me up, but you wanted to teach me a lesson for what reason? Why did you need to torture me? Why do you need to be so fucking cruel? What did I fucking ever do to any of you? Hey, if you guys are a part of the local criminal organization, the red one and the white one, get out of the working income. Leave the job, fucking leave the job. You ain't supposed to be working in there. What you doing? Applying criminal protocols. Hey, it's all right if they're members, but not this one. Not this noble. Jeremiah, I will never want somebody like you to dictate to my privileges. Let alone tell me how to conduct my affairs inside Winz. You hear me? Yeah, nothing more than just a punk and a criminal who deserves handcuffs and to ride in a police car. And I mean that, yeah. Now, I spoke to your manager nicely. He was very nice and forthcoming, but I'm sorry, your manager is just as guilty. And I hope that you guys are going to, are you going to learn from this? No, I don't think so, because you see, you can't reason with criminals and you can't reason with punks. That's great. You guys have got a history of violence in your family, domestic violence. A lot. And I don't think anybody's, and you don't think you've ever been caught, have you? Well, until you did what you did, until, this noble, I genuinely would know if there's psychological abuse and psychological, dysfunction, if there's a lot of that violence inside your family. And I'm afraid, Jeremiah, yeah, your family, well, I wouldn't want to be part of your family, that's for sure, let alone be your friend. If you're going to talk to your friends, you're going to teach them lessons like that, buddy, I wouldn't even want to deal with you after that. All I want to do is, Judge, can you place him under arrest and take him to jailbird to teach him a lesson? That's correct. That he needs to stop doing that kind of thing. That he needs to upgrade his so-called attitude, but he needs to find another job that aligns with his mindset, with the so-called dangerous mindset that he's got. That's correct. Because we clients, hey, some of us, we have gone past these kind of, ridiculous, teachings of lessons and whatnot. Hey, we don't need to learn any more of this. That's correct. Hey, just because we've been through the court system over minor offenses, don't mean you're going to give me the offenders treatment or criminals treatment, because that's what it feels like. After all, I'm a noble. And I've done a lot of great things. That I've done more things than you. That's correct, Jeremiah. You're not a natural bastard. You're not a royal. That's correct. You're a case manager, but one with a very bad attitude. And sadly, man, a bad record of violence as well. That's correct. Domestic violence. In your family. And in your backyard. In your DNA. And in your mindset. So, if I were you, I'd put my resignation in to your job and find a new job, find another job, security job, or some other job. That's correct. But I don't ever want to have case managers like you working for Winz. Winz, they need to employ people that are professionals, qualified, people like myself. That's correct. We'd do a better job. We wouldn't be punks, and we certainly wouldn't we wouldn't allow any criminal organizations out there to dictate to the affairs and the running of the so-called Winz organization. It would be a far better. I can say that now. But you guys applying these sort of harmful protocols, you should have thought about that. You should have dropped it. I've been giving a lot of ample warnings, but you guys are still applying your harmful protocols. From the regime and that organization. Hey, if you're afraid that they could harm your families or somebody connected to you, hey, that's not my problem. That's not the client's problem. Your job is to do, that's right, to do what you've been paid to do inside working income, the policies and whatnot. Your job is not to apply criminal protocols from criminal organizations. That's correct, like the local red one. That's not your job now. But you see, that's the problem. That's the problem. So you could be an associate of the MMB. Brackets, KKK. I don't need to deal with staff like you with that kind of connection. I need to deal with professional staff that have no criminal associations. No, that's correct. None. Now, if the Minister of Social Development doesn't, upgrade and revamp, stop employing employees like you guys that are punks and have got these sort of criminal connections, I think we better leave the country. I think we ought to leave the country altogether. That's correct. Because, you know, a lot of these government organizations are being run by people that are associates of criminal organizations. That ain't good at all. In fact, I'd be very wary, but I wouldn't feel safe dealing with any of them, knowing that they are punks and are criminals. That's correct. Oh, I ain't no punk or no rat bag either. My criminal record is so clean. Just like my Lord, just like the blood of my Lord. That's correct. But don't get me wrong, Jeremiah. I might be 49 years old. I might not have a, you know, good paying job like you. But I sure got a lot of brains more than you. That's right. And what I'm about to do to you, you couldn't do what I do. And you know how I conduct my affairs, how I've got a private company? You don't own a private company, do you? Have you ever published a book or a story? No. Right. Then, you know, and are you a royal or noble? No. So that's why you should learn to respect people like this one here. That's correct. My. Your daddy hasn't taught you anything, has he? No, he has taught you how to be a punk and how to be a loser. When you are jealous, when you can't handle what nobles like me say on my church TV. If you can't handle what I say, then your daddy hasn't taught you anything. You haven't scratched the surface. In fact, you haven't made a dent. So, buddy, you need to go back to real school, prison school. That's correct. That's where you belong. In fact, thankfully, that's where you would have ended up, like your brother. That's correct. So I hear. That's what the guardian angel is saying. But the archangel is now giving you a warning. You better stop what you're doing. Don't you be evil to somebody who's a natural noble pastor. That's right. You want your daddy to be respected as a clergyman? Then you do the same, buddy. That's correct. That's what Winz offers in Upper Hutt. That's the lesson that you guys should have learned ages ago. I'm a noble, but don't you give me the punk attitude. Don't you give me the treatment of an offender or a criminal, because, hey, I don't look like one and I don't behave like one. And maybe a lot of the time that you're trying to set me up, that's right. You can't handle your jealousy. Man, you can stick that jealousy of yours, yeah, where the sun don't shine. Because why? Hey, because you all wonder, you know, what do I do? That's correct. Hey, that ain't your business. All your business is, that's right, you're paid to do your job, but don't be nosy to your clients, so-called, you know, private affairs and whatnot. But don't misjudge, don't judge a book by its cover. That's correct. Here I was, come home and I let it rip. I let it rip because I know that it was horrible what they just did. Jeremiah and the manager and the rest of them. Because the cameras don't lie. I know. I thought to myself, what did I actually do to them? Why did I do that? Why did they? It was so cruel. It was so fucking cruel that I'm not disabled. You know, like, if it was somebody who had a disability, that's great. Or that was blind, or somebody that, you know, didn't have enough marbles, I might see the point. But even so, it's just cruel to do that to you, who is, you know, just so intelligent. You're more intelligent than them. But for them to actually do that in broad daylight, in front of everybody else, while every other loser that was coming into the reception area, that's correct, was made to feel like, you know, with dignity, given the you know, I don't expect any celebrity kind of treatment. Hey, I don't expect the treatment that Stan Walker gets here in this country, you know? No, I don't go looking for that. But what I do need to be respected is I need to be treated just like those clients that you treated with dignity and respect. Yeah, serve me. But minus those kind of arbitrary, evil dictatorships. But minus those reckless, dangerous, you know, behaviors. Where you want to torture, where you feel you need to torture, but teach me a lesson. Because you know how it's painful? It is painful if you sit there for 42 minutes. And even for an hour. You know, it's like you've been made to, it's like a punishment. It's like a punishment. You know, you're like being treated like a child, like torture, but it is torture. And Jeremiah, man, I'm done with you, buddy. I am. You're nothing. You're nothing. You look like a gorilla. You don't belong in Winz. My face will make Winz organization not only improve the services, but also improve the reputation of your, and clean up all, and get rid of all the mess that's in there, and the rubbish. Like you, that's correct. You gorilla. Oh, you sure don't look like a gorilla, all right? A gorilla. A crossbeard. And I'll be very frank now, because you really got me one. You really got me now. That's right. Because a lot of you don't like me. Well, you know, I don't look attractive. Do I care? Do I give a fuck? No, I don't. I don't give a fuck what I look like. But I'll tell you what you look like. You look like something that doesn't belong there in Winz office. That's correct. I'll tell you what. I probably belong in work to work in work and income. I should work for the Minister of Justice. That's correct. Or even as a registrar at the court. I definitely belong in the courts and the Minister of Justice. And stuff like that. And probation officer and those kind of jobs. And even as a case manager. Except I would be more like a manager or supervisor. As for you, Jeremiah, you look like a cross between a gorilla, a rhino, and a bull. You know what I mean? Oh, you ugly. Yeah, just like with your attitude. Your attitude is ugly, just how you look like you're so fucking ugly. Yeah. Now you know. Is that gonna hurt? Yeah. That's gonna hurt, eh? Yeah. Now you know how I feel. That's why next time, don't you take those kind of attitude out of me. That's good. Don't you take it out of whatever domestic or dispute what is going on with you. Don't take it out on your client, on this client, or any other client. Because you will end up in jailbird, or let alone 6 feet under. If it's the wrong Pakya, especially one that's on a monarch. And on a throne, Jeremiah, your daddy should have taught you better. That's right. Naughty. Yeah. Anyway. Well, that's my preaching. Another interesting episode. That's correct. Man, great illustration. Oh, but it's real. This is not made believe. This is real. This really happened yesterday. That's correct. It just happened. And maybe they tried to seal my death. Except they got it back. They seal their death now. Oh, you wouldn't want to meet you wouldn't want to meet. That's correct. The man, that's right, the king. Chief Bum, you know they wouldn't want to see him. Really does exist. A Viking king? But where does he come from? Oh, he better not come from Norway or some other country like Russia. Oh, no. That's correct. Anyway, that's none of your business as well. Anyway, you have a nice good morning. That's correct. And remember, file your restraining order on Friday this week. That's correct. And even on the 6th of December next week. File your restraining orders. Well, this is going to be exciting, all right? New Zealand, you don't deserve this, noble. You don't deserve any access to my kingdom. That you should stay right out of my kingdom. If you take offense, that's right. Just like with Jeremiah. If you're going to teach me a lesson, because I don't respect the people of Aotearoa, the people of Cry Waters, the treaty principles and the language, then I'm afraid you need to stay out of my kingdom. Because I'm not likely to speak their language. They need to speak it more than I do. I've got my own languages, my own mother tongue, that's right, and my own, and I preferred it. Hey, there's nothing wrong with my church TV. You all know what it's about. You don't need to enter. You ain't no noble. You're not a royal. So don't enter. You don't need it. It's correct. Don't copy. Don't apply anything inside my church TV if you're not going to, be able to handle anything. Or if you're still going to think, oh, I don't like her because of the conditions and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's just tough. Too bad. That's correct. Because that's my intellectual property. But that's how, how it's supposed to be. But you don't belong there anymore now. And you'd all hate to, in fact, I want to say this. You're now all banned from entering my church TV. And I mean all Kiwis, anyone from New Zealand. So the only people that should enter my church TV are those on Facebook that respect me and accept me as Dr. Snow Brown. And understand me also. Not to be cruel, but also know that there's a nobles arrangement you need to respect. That's correct. Now, if you're going to give me the commonest treatment and I'm above you, don't come near me. You don't need to enter my kingdom anymore. You need to go and create your own kingdom or find another kingdom that aligns with your dangerous mindset or your so-called harmful mindsets or your jealous mindsets. That's correct. Or your bad attitudes. That's correct. You guys need to move on. Yeah, I much prefer people from overseas to enter my kingdom, to be part of my ministry. And as I said, there will never be any Nightings of New Zealand. Sadly, I know. Man, when you guys do this kind of thing, where you want to dish the wrath to me all the time, and yet I don't do anything to you, that's correct. Or you go behind my back and steal stuff from me, or you want to get back at me through somebody else, man, you can forget it. You can forget about accessing my church TV. That's correct. But so the logo will change, but you guys need to stay out now. How about you move on now? And stay out. Because Dr. Snow Brown doesn't need any of you. I've got a new home. It's called America. And other people overseas. But you guys sadly need to move on. In fact, I urge you now, the people of Crywater or New Zealand, to create your own logo and to have your own kingdom where you can do what you like with the treaty and everything else, where you'll feel like you're part of something bigger and greater and better than me, of course. That's correct. As for my kingdom, you are not part of my kingdom. You are excluded. I'll preach as in the manner I wish to preach, but you are no longer, effectively, after what just happened, you are no longer part of my kingdom. Sadly. Is that a goodbye from me? So when you see me out there, don't talk to me. Don't say anything to me. Just move along and walk on and just pretend I don't exist. And then you won't offend, you won't be offended, and I won't be offended. That's correct. Okay. You all have a nice good morning. And good luck with your restraining orders. Because it looks like I'm going to have a very busy week. Yeah. And also a very exciting one. And God bless. And may God keep you all safe and happy. In Jesus' name I pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen.